recognize that sound. That's my song. It's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you, a couple flights up from the kitchen where I get my coffee, right below the roof, which is at the top of the building which I'm in, meaning my house. I'm in the attic. Philanthropy and Focus every single Friday morning. Actually, I was looking at my notes. This is the 92nd episode of Philanthropy and Focus. And I tell you that because that's cool and I'm happy about it and I'm excited about it. But I think it could be inspiring because if you have an idea and you want to do something, just do it. Like just lean in and go do that thing that you want to do. Because like I say on this show, Philanthropy and Focus, a couple things happen. I meet with nonprofit leaders each week. I help them tell their story and I amplify the message for them. I help get their message out to the best I can through my networks, through my connections, through my relationships, and through my social capital. That means the people I'm connected to, the organizations I'm connected to. I'm kind of in awe. I looked at the number. I knew it was a big number already, but 92 is a lot. And as I look at it, the final episode of this year will be December 16th, which is episode number 99. So because we take a couple weeks off here at the end of the year at TalkRadio.nyc, you'll have to wait till 2023 for episode 100. And I'll probably have to wear a funny costume or something. That just seems like a big deal. I don't know what you're supposed to do after 100 episodes. But I remember back in the day when they talked about sitcoms, if you had 100 episodes, meant you had syndication, like maybe like Seinfeld. So maybe I'm like Seinfeld soon. Alyssa Lewin, good morning. What's going on? How are you?
Good morning, Tommy. I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. And it's really such an honor to be with a Seinfeld surrogate. So
wow, did I just get bold there? Right now I'm Jerry Seinfeld all of a sudden. That was funny. It's funny right now. Seinfeld's on Netflix, so a whole new generation of people who were not around when we were watching that show, whatever it was 25 years ago, are now watching it. And it's funny to know, like, we'll stop talking about Seinfeld soon, everybody, but it's funny for me, like, to see those, like, how their fashion is so dated. But I lived during that time is the funny part about it too. Like, wait, I was alive like during that, but wow, they look, I always see Jerry Seinfeld with jeans on and no belt. I'm always like, you got to put a belt on, bro. What are we doing? Like, so look, on this show,
you're kidding. That stuff is still in my closet.
you have that stuff still? Yeah, still. You know what? I probably, if I don't want to give my dad and my father-in-law a hard time, but I bet they still have those same clothes too, man.
Right.
I will say this. I remember there was a time in history when like we used to wear like with shorts, you would wear like tube socks, but like all the way up to your knees. And I was old enough to buy my own socks. And I was like, Dad, you got to stop with those socks like jacked up to your knees, right? And the funny part about it is now my 11-year-old, that's the style where the socks, they wear these socks jacked up to their knees again and with shorts. And I'll tell you, what's old is new again. What's new is old again. It's just a big, Lion King is the circle of life, it's just it. And, the fashion companies get a kick out of it because like, oh, we could sell that stuff we were selling like 20 years ago. They like it again, I mean, it's just funny how the world keeps going in a big circle. Look, Alyssa, when we met, I'm very touched by the work you're doing. I'm touched by your organization. I'm going to read your background. I'm going to read about the organization in a bit. But I just feel like I did a video leading up to this, as I usually do. And I said, self-care is not selfish. And I took that from some of the materials I got from you. And it's been resonating with me because as I talked about, I find that at 44 years old, I am part of the sandwich generation. And I have friends who are 20 and some 30 year my senior who are part of the sandwich generation. So it's like kind of, this is one of those things. It's I don't know, is it like the mafia? Like once you're in, you're in. Like once you're in the sandwich generation, you're in it. Like because, and maybe we could speak to what that means for people. It's not just somebody who likes, bologna and cheese or ham and provolone. It's about a situation where you're raising young children under the age of 18, or they could be older than 18, I guess, but if they're still depending on us or if they're still on the payroll, as people like to say in our vernacular, as well as caring for either your own parents, a spouse, your in-laws, or an aunt or an uncle. Really, it doesn't even have to be a family member. It could just be someone who is older than you and is connected to you, friend or what otherwise. So we're going to hear all about your story and how you created Nancy's House and really why you created Nancy's House. But I'd love to just kind of say about the sandwich generation. How familiar are you with that term? And maybe we could speak about that before we even get into your.
Oh, Tommy, that was my life.
Yeah,
That's really what started Nancy's house, was being squished in the middle of that sandwich.
yeah,
And it does go on in some form or another until it ends, and it never ends in a way that we want it to,
right,
you know?
right. Yeah, yeah, it's true. And I think, not to get scientific, but people didn't live historically as long as we do live now.
That's
So,
right.
right. So the fact is, folks are, which is great that people are around longer, but comes with that, the challenge of taking care of these people, supporting them, um, making this whole other conversation. I don't know if we're getting to it today, but of when a parent gets to a certain point, um, having them in this discussion of, well, I don't want to leave my home,
That's right.
right? And but
That, that's
so,
right.
yeah, so that becomes this whole dynamic, and not to mention the cost of long-term care and all these types of things. Again, I'll bring on a financial advisor if we want to get into those, but those end up becoming stressors for the caregiver, and that's really where we're
Absolutely.
going today, right?
Absolutely. Caregivers spend a lot of their own money taking care of this other person that they love. And this is the non-reimbursable stuff. This is the special food they might need, or the $100 a week you might pay in parking because of follow-up visits to a doctor, or it's there's a lot that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, while trying to do this other thing called raise a family. It's interesting.
Right.
In a sec, I'll read, a little background on you and the organization, as I said, but I'll just even know how my morning started. Listening to my dearest wife get my four children out of the house this morning, and I had some preparation for this morning show and some other meetings, but I heard kind of what was going on,
Mhm.
um, and I know she has other stressors pulling her in different directions, as those of us, as I said, in our age range do. And it's like, eventually it becomes a big challenge. And eventually, as we'll talk about this morning, it can affect our own personal health, which is then, how are we any good to anybody? So again, self-care is not selfish. That's sort of the theme we're going to talk about.
Right.
It's really
Right.
around that we as caregivers, who, if you're not one now, you're going to be one. And if you're not one, then maybe you're being cared for. So let me read you a
Right.
quick thing about your background. Alyssa Lewin is a licensed psychologist, marriage and family therapist, serial caregiver, and founder of Nancy's House. The programs that Nancy's House provides are informed by the combination of Alyssa's caregiving experience, research in the field of caregiving, and her training as a psychologist. So the organization, which you're going to tell me about, provides a retreat setting that breaks the isolation and exhaustion of family caregiving, allowing rest, education, and connection with other family caregivers. See, I think that's the biggest part too. It's about connection to others.
Right.
When someone loses a family member or spouse, there's circles, there's communities that they can belong to and become
Right.
part of, which
Right.
often serve them well, both supportive, emotionally and spiritually, and in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we need a hug. A lot of times we need a hug, and sometimes it's
Right.
important to have people around to do that. So can we start on your journey, where, your own experience, and how, I know there is a Nancy, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that, but how does all this happen? As much or as little as you want to go into right now, let's start it off.
How did all of this happen for me? What
Sure.
started my caregiving journey?
Yeah.
Ah, I'm a serial caregiver, and I think a lot of us can make that claim. But my journey, as I identify it, mine started when I had a second grader that I figured out had some pretty significant learning challenges. And at the same time, I had a toddler still in diapers,
Mhm.
and my mother-in-law became quite ill very quickly. Now, in my story, there's my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. They divorced when my husband was a year old. So there's my mother-in-law and there's my father-in-law. They are not
They're
in
not.
any way a support to each other. But he and I were the support for both of them. So she became quite ill very quickly. We needed to get diagnosed. It was really pretty radical, and we needed to get diagnosis very quickly. We needed to get her the proper care, and moved her out of her apartment and into an appropriate care facility, while I was still very involved in my now second graders education and getting that stuff on track, and had a toddler. And in that process, I noticed that I had this swollen gland, and I'm a very good caregiver, so I would have ignored it. Except that,
Slow down.
right? Because we ignore ourselves.
I know, but we got to underscore that, because that's cute and funny and serious all in one commentary there. You're such a good caregiver for everyone else.
That's right.
This lump in your neck, you said in your neck, right?
Right,
You would
right.
walk it off, right? That's not it. It ain't about you, Alyssa. It's about everybody else.
Like, I'll deal with that some other time. But then
Unfortunately.
it started to get in the way when I would turn my head to back up the car. And it's like, okay, I got to get this taken care of. And I went to the doc, figuring she'd give me antibiotics, and you're like, zip, zap, done. And she said, I'm not seeing any sign of infection, and I'd like to do some blood work. I'm like, okay, fine. So she called me the next morning, which is never a good sign. And she said, listen, either the lab really screwed up or we have a problem. I want to do your blood work again. I said, fine. And she called me the next morning. Well, it turned out that I had, at the age of about 40, developed chronic lymphocytic leukemia. So what's really weird about that is I had none of the predisposing factors. I'm not elderly. People who get it tend to be elderly. They tend to be men. And depending on whose studies you're reading, it seems like more African Americans than whites get it. And it's like, okay, 3 for 3 here. What's the problem? Right. And what I figured out as I got more into my caregiving experience and knowledge is the problem is that the stress of caregiving suppresses our immune systems. And it sets off other things in our bodies. And when those things happen, it leaves us vulnerable. It leaves us vulnerable to all kinds of cancers, like an immune system cancer, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, all kinds of metabolic things. I have to say, Tommy, because people always get concerned when I say I have CLL, it and I will grow old together. We're doing fine. But that's also part of the self-care story.
So I want to again underscore something here, because this hits home with my world in a lot of ways, and I just want people to realize what the facts are here. Stress depletes our immune system, and then bad things can happen because we're not able to, our body, which is an incredible machine, is not able to fight things off. Whereas with if our immune system was not compromised, and correct me if I'm wrong from your own experience, more than likely these challenging problems and cancers would not happen. I mean, right? That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I want everybody to take pause and think of that. And this is when we get into Nancy's house and things like that. If you are a caregiver, you must pause and take care of yourself, because it's become so cliche. Put on your oxygen mask before you put on the child's oxygen mask, because they tell us on a plane, and people think it's cute. And I hear some parents go, I would never do that. Of course I'm going to do, but that's wrong. I'm sorry, but that's wrong, because if you pass out, you can't help anybody. And if
That's right.
in life versus on that plane, you're not helpful to anyone. And as I look directly into the camera, I'm looking to me as well. And I'm saying to myself, like, you actually have to. And I find myself in my weeks sometimes, taking a pause and having, in working with coaches on my own, and taking that pause and having to say, okay, step away from the desk, step away from the situation, step away from this meeting, whatever it is, and go meditate or go for a walk or sometimes, we have to go take a nap. Like, can you tap out, So
right.
That's what I'm encouraging everybody to learn from this conversation that Alyssa and I are going to have, or are having, and are going to continue to have when we come back from this quick break. But it's about that these things, we can control much of this. We can control it by making different decisions, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. We can help.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee, but we can certainly help to make things better.
Again, it's all about putting ourselves in the best position, right? For these
That's
things.
it.
That's it. We're going to take a quick break as we always do on the show. We'll be back in about 84 seconds. Alyssa and Tommy D, Philanthropy and Focus. Right back.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
The only song in the history of songs that talks about a guy doing a radio show from his attic, I think. I'm not sure, but that's what I think. You know, I got to give a shout out to Mick Collins, my buddy who's checking in on Facebook, and he makes this, whoa, who are these people in my attic? That's my best Jerry Seinfeld thing. He thought he was doing his Seinfeld. Mick, you could do it better than me. If I had a dial-in number, I'd have you call in. We were going to, talk metaphors for me. You said this in our little chat box here, Alyssa. Mm-hmm. Alyssa Lewin is here, by the way, from Nancy's house, Philanthropy and Focus. Tell me the one you just jotted down in the chat. Let's talk about that.
What I always tell our guests is you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill yourself so that you have more to give. And I actually got in trouble with one guy one time. I was talking about you take care of yourself so you can be a better caregiver. And he's like, no, you take care of yourself because you deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to be strong and healthy. And he's absolutely right.
I could dig that too. Yeah, I see. It's funny though, and because he read you with your whole thing about the neck and the whole thing, right? Like I'm such a caregiver, I'm not going to worry about me. And he's like, no, stop making it about every other people. That's the funny thing about life. Like, why shouldn't we be a bit selfish? Like, why shouldn't we? I feel like we're, and again, I'm always trying to help other people, and I got my own issue with that, but it's like, it's okay to take care of it. It's appropriate. And he's right. Whoever said it, he's right. That's actually what we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes, you're better for everybody else, but also you're better for yourself. And then in essence, it just the ripples keep going out, right?
So Audre Lorde said, self-care is not selfish, it's self-preservation.
Self-preservation. I love it.
And it is.
So let's go back to completing, or at least continuing, the story of
so there is a fast forward. And in 2000, my father-in-law, who was then 90, he was then 90, had to move in with us. We had been doing all the stuff that you do to try to maintain him, you know, in his own space. We moved him closer. I was cooking extra meals. We were laying out a week's worth of meds at a time, all that stuff. And it reached a point where it was not safe for him to be by himself. Now, this guy had Parkinson's disease, diabetes, congestive heart failure, a couple of cancers, and just enough dementia to keep it interesting.
We got to laugh, folks. We have to have a laugh. Sometimes, you know, actually it's an old, you know, I'll make a reference to something that some people will pick up on. You know, A Tribe Called Quest is one of my favorite groups back in the day, still to this day. And they said, so much going on, people killing, people dying. I got to laugh to keep from crying, you know, like, and that's what it is, because like we got, you know, this is life, man. It's part of the gig. You know, you just gotta, you know, smile, make a joke. You know,
the laughter keeps us going. By the way, I know we'll talk about this later on, but there's actually going to be a workshop at the conference on finding humor and journaling with humor.
No doubt. Yeah. They say it's the best medicine. And there was about a year and a half ago, somewhere through my networking, I met a woman who coaches people on laughing and laughter as therapy. Like that's her gig. I haven't spoken to her in a year and a half. We had a chance meeting through networking, and then just, you know, how life is, but I would like to look her up because I think that's great. So, you know, that's critical. Just enough dementia to keep it interesting is the comment. Is that
yeah.
So he moves in. So now this should be easier, right? This is easy. Now you don't have to lay out a week's worth of meds. You don't have to cook extra meals and deliver them. He's in the house with you now. It should be much easier, right?
Oh, sure. Easy peasy. It was, there are stories. We haven't the time for all the stories. They're pretty funny though. Yeah. But what is interesting and part of, again, the story of Nancy's house is with the dementia, his clock was flipped, which meant he was up at night, which meant I was up at night.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, really interesting. I'm a slow learner. It took me 2.5 years of his living with us for me to go, wait a minute, this isn't my father. All right.
Are you saying not everybody was up?
Not everybody was up. No.
Okay.
Some
fair.
people slept through.
Oh my goodness.
So
I'll make a funny comment. I used to think my kids, when they were babies, slept through the night. They didn't. I found out later on they didn't sleep through the night.
Right. Funny thing about that.
Yeah. Moms are incredible. Moms are special. Really.
And those ears never go away. Once you've got them, you've got them.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, you know, when he moved in, I had already had this experience with cancer and knowing that I needed to take care of myself. And I started seeing a massage therapist, and her name was Nancy Brown. We had this conversation one day about, wouldn't it be great if there were a place we could go to where we could get taken care of the way we take care of these other people? And I got to say, Tommy, I really feel like she was there to plant that seed, because like within weeks, she was gone, poof, disappeared. And nobody in the practice knew where she went.
You never saw her again to this day, right?
Never saw her again, never heard from her again.
People come into our lives, and I'm sure we enter other people's lives to drop a tidbit, to drop some knowledge, to plant that seed. I'm sure that there's people I want to connect. I know there's people I would love to see again. And and again, in a world where you can find most people, but you know, with a name like Nancy Brown, maybe less likely than.
I personally know 3 Nancy Browns. You know?
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's less easy to find people, but there's a reason. Obviously, Nancy's house does not come out of the ether if you don't meet Nancy and she sparks connection, and this thing happens, right?
Right. So she left. My father-in-law lived for another 4.5 years. And what the turning point was, is he died on a Tuesday. And I woke up Wednesday morning and realized I had just had my first solid night's sleep in 5 years. And I hadn't realized how exhausted I was. And I thought, you know, if this is happening to me and I'm ahead of the curve on the self-care thing, what's happening to other caregivers? And, I'm a psychologist, so I did what psychologists do. I went and reviewed the literature, right?
Research.
It's, what can I say? But what I found out was, so we're now at, that 2005, 2006 point. And what I found out was that we had known since the early 90s what happens to us as caregivers. And it's not good.
So
right?
what is it? What like let's break it down.
So one of the early studies looked at women my age, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what that is, but you've had some hints along the way. But looked at women my age who are taking care of their ill husbands. And there is this concept of burden, like how much stress do you feel in doing this? And what they found was that those women who felt burden in taking care of these ill husbands, who felt the stress of taking care of these ill husbands, had a 63% increased risk of premature death. Like
63%.
63% compared to their non-caregiving, same age, friends, partners, colleagues, whatever, cohort. So there was a study that was recently done. The numbers haven't changed a whole lot. There was a study that was recently done by agingcare.com that says 30% of caregivers die before the person that they're taking care of. 30% die before the person they're taking care of.
Now we, again, these are studies, this is research, it's data. There could be other reasons, but we're making a jump to the fact that much of that is because of the burden they're experiencing and because of, back to what is it, stress, lack of sleep, probably lack of nutrition, mental health issues as a result, and et cetera, right?
So depending whose numbers you read, and I realize it's a lot of statistics, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think I'm with you 100%. I just want to say, like, to people, I like to push this stuff in people's faces. Like, this is the stuff. This is real. This is happening.
So depending whose numbers you read, between 40 and 75% of all caregivers have symptoms of major depression.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I have a graphic in front of me. Anybody can Google it and find it. It's a really lovely one from research that was done by AARP and the National Association of Caregiving.
Yeah.
This is from 2020, and that actually is the most current numbers that I can find.
Where did you get that from? Because some people might just be listening right now, and I want to share that.
It's called Caregiving in the US 2020, and it's a research piece done by AARP and the National Alliance for Caregiving, NAC.
Okay.
Right. But if you Google it, if you just Google caregiving in the US 2020, you should get this really lovely graphic.
Perfect. All right. Tell us some of the statistics.
Yeah. Okay. So this compares 2015 to 2020. Okay. We've got in 2020, 24%, and I think this is a low number, of people are taking care of more than one person. Right. Just because you're a caregiver, it doesn't mean you have one person.
Right.
We've had guests come who have 3 kids who have a genetic disorder, and they're taking care of all 3 kids. Oh, and their spouse has MS. Right. So
it's how much is the body and the psyche supposed to be able to manage? I'm not looking for anybody's pity. I'm not saying that, but like, just put this in like kind of black and white terms. How much is this? How much capacity does one human being have? That's what we're talking about.
Right.
I'm pulling up some numbers too, because I just want to see, there was some, so caregiving in the US 2020. So I found this is actually, I found it right here. It's, so you go to caregiving.org, everybody. This is the same one. I'm going to share it while we're on Facebook. This is it right here. So why don't you speak to it? Just confirm that this is the same one though. Alyssa, that's it, right?
There it is. That's the one.
Yeah.
So
tell us about that.
What's really interesting, if you look at that little gray bar above the circle, like 1/3 of the way up, that says 23% of Americans say caregiving has made their health worse. Right? I went to the doctor the other day for my annual exam, and she brought a bunch of students into the room with her. And I thought, well, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to do some teaching.
Sure.
And talked about caregiving and needing to pay attention to caregivers and not just the person with the diagnosis. And the doc started talking about this patient she had just seen, a woman who had been taking care of both of her parents, and she had developed some bleeding and ignored it. And her husband kept saying, you need to go to the doctor. You need to go to the doctor. She's like, yeah. She would take her parents to their doctor's appointments. She never went to hers. Well, by the time she came to the doc, she had stage 3 endometrial cancer. Right. And this is what we do. Right.
So
Remember?
so we're going to talk about, respite and groups that Nancy's house has, but let's make a really blunt recommendation if we could. And I'll either do it or I'm going to let you do it. What should these people actually be doing for themselves when it comes to their own health?
Oh, brilliant question. And that really is the crux of what Nancy's house is all about. Because going back to my research story, every single article says caregivers have to take care of themselves. And it's like, well, that's brilliant, Sherlock. Thank you.
Yeah, really.
But nobody was saying, here's how. And nobody was saying, and I'm going to help you to do that. Right? We can get told things over and over and over. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you really should come to a retreat. She said, oh, I know what they're going to tell me. They're going to tell me I should eat healthy and I should exercise. And I said, that's probably not what's going to happen there. But we all know what it is we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But having that opportunity to actually do it, to have somebody walk you through it, to experience what this feels like. Right. And so there are lots of things we can be doing. Yes. How you eat makes a difference. Oh my God. There was a guest who came. She prefers I call her Macy. That's not her real name, but that's the one she says I can use. Macy came into our retreat and she said, I used to be a beautiful woman. And the woman that I was looking at had straggly hair, was very gaunt. Her teeth were in bad shape. She had recently been diagnosed with malnutrition and her body was showing it, because her mother had dementia and would scream whenever she left the room.
Oh, God.
And so she stopped taking time to eat. She would grab something as she went through the kitchen or as she was feeding her mom, but she stopped eating meals. And the thing she took away from our retreat was she deserves to eat meals.
Wow.
And it's that simple. So eating good food, eating healthy food, cutting out the junk. The junk feels good in the moment, sets up another whole set of problems. We don't have time to talk about those. Eating good food, 20 minutes of aerobic activity every other day. It doesn't even have to be every day, but getting that nice, good walk, getting your heart rate up. Or if you can't leave the house because of the person you're taking care of, the needs they have, you can't leave the house, dance in your living room, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you do it, just to get your heart rate up for that 20 minutes every other day. It's going to release endorphins. You're going to feel better, more competent, more confident, happier, able to tolerate stress better. It does all kinds of good things. It's only 20 minutes every other day. I teach a workshop called I Don't Have Time, because the thing I hear most often is, I'm busy taking care of this person. I don't have time for me. And so we start with the most simple, most basic stress reduction technique that you immediately can do. And that's a deep breath.
Yeah.
And teaching people how to do a correct deep breath. If somebody tells me, oh, I've tried that, it doesn't work, I can guarantee absolutely they're not doing it right, because our bodies are wired to respond to it.
We have the equipment. And that's not to knock people. And I do meditate, and I meditate probably, most mornings I do, and often if I have to if I need to, if I feel the need to and get away, I'll do it in midday. Talking 10-15 minutes, gang. We're not talking about hours of meditation. Would I like to be a monk up in the Himalayas? Sure, but I do other stuff. So I don't meditate for 12 hours a day, but you got to go inside. You got to just tune it out. Maybe I haven't done it since the pandemic started, but I love going to float therapy, sensory deprivation tank, just shut it all out, get it all out. Find these opportunities. And you don't need the sensory depth tank. You don't need the tank. You don't need to float. We actually do have all the equipment, right? So I don't want to make it complicated, right?
There is actually a meditation that I want to tell folks about that has been documented, like the studies have been done, that says this actually helps to protect our bodies from the stress of caregiving.
Specifically. All right, good. Let's hold them. That's a cliffhanger. We're going to hold them with that. When we come back, we're going to dive right into that. Philanthropy and Focus. Alyssa Lewin from Nancy's house, Tommy D from the attic. We'll be right back.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We're about to talk about meditation. Now, you don't need an attic to meditate, although an attic is a great place to meditate, but I like to meditate in the attic, meaning, my head. Okay, it's about that. So I wanted to read this about Nancy's house, and we're going to talk about this special meditation specifically for caregivers, which I didn't even know we were going to talk meditation today. So that's even more exciting for me. But Nancy's house breaks the isolation and exhaustion that can come from taking care of someone who is chronically ill or disabled. We offer 1 to 3 day retreats for caregivers, online, in-person workshops, monthly book clubs, monthly support groups, and an annual conference. And we're going to be talking about some events later in the show that are coming up. In fact, next week we'll talk about. So let's talk meditation. I want to talk about the name Nancy's house, right? And then we'll just keep moving.
So the meditation, there is a psychiatrist named Alyssa Appel who is at University of California, San Francisco Medical School. Way back in 2004, she did a study, and actually it was one of the studies that pushed my development of Nancy's house. She took healthy moms in their 30s with healthy kids, and healthy moms in their 30s with sick kids, chronically ill kids. And she didn't do any emotional surveys. She didn't ask about stress, didn't ask about burden, none of that. What she did was she looked at the telomeres from the cells of the healthy moms with healthy kids and healthy moms with sick kids. Now, telomeres are like the caps at the end of a shoelace. Those plastic ends that keep it from unraveling? Telomeres are those kinds of ends at the ends of your chromosome bundles, right? So all the chromosome bundles have these little caps, these telomeres. And every time a cell reproduces, that telomere gets a little shorter, little shorter, little shorter. So it becomes a biomarker for age, right? And what she did was she looked at the healthy moms, healthy kids, and healthy moms, sick kids, and compared their telomeres. And what she found was that at this biologic level, at this cellular level, the moms with the sick kids were on average 10 years older than their same age counterparts.
So biologically, for lack of me understanding, another way to say it is they're the same age, right?
Right. Chronologically, same age.
Thank you. Chronologically, they're the same age, but internally, way down to the most basic at the cellular level, these other women who are caregivers are on average 10 years older.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what does that do for your system that's starting to break down because it's 10 years older, right?
Right. Because when telomeres get shorter is when things break down. That's why things break down in old age, when their telomeres are now shorter and cells die or they don't reproduce properly. Again, another whole piece. But hers was the first study that connected the impact of stress of caregiving with what's happening to us physically, that it's not just an emotional thing, but it's physical. So then it was like, well, okay, if stress is doing this to the telomeres and that affects us physically, is there a way to mitigate that? And what she did another study, and what she found is there is this 12-minute meditation. If you do it every day, not only protects the telomeres from shrinking, but actually helps them to elongate again.
All right, hold on. We need to pause because because this is too good, too juicy. I'm trying to Google her to find where is
Google 12-minute meditation.
Perfect. We'll start with that.
And there are a bazillion of them online. I mean, there are a bazillion.
Like, or because I did 12-minute meditation. Let's see if what comes up there.
That's going to give you all the YouTube videos of it.
Yeah, right. But I want to get her article too.
Oh, you want her? Okay, so you want Alyssa Appel, EPEL.
AL
ELISSA.
It was yours.
Yeah.
All right. And what's the last name?
Appel, EPEL.
EPEL. Folks, we do things in real time here on this program. We're solving problems. Not like, no pomp and circumstances. You know what I mean? We're just doing.
So you might want to put telomeres after that name when you Google it. And
psychologist, right?
No, she's psychiatrist.
Okay. So, but she's vice chair at Department of Psychiatry at University of California, San Francisco, right?
You got it.
Got it. She's got a couple books, The Telomere Effect and The 7-Day Stress, it looks like, are a couple of her books. We'll share this stuff. I'm sure McCollins is sharing it already. It's Alyssa, ELISSA, Appel, EPL.
EPEL.
I just said it wrong. So I'll share I'll just share. It's got like her profile from the college and stuff like that. I'll put this stuff out there. Alyssa Appel, we'd love to talk to you at some point too, because this is great information. So, all right. So please continue with this so we can get it going.
So that study was published 2004. In 2014, she published another study that looked at having caregivers, having people in stress do this meditation every day. And it's just 12 minutes. It's just 12 minutes. When you're talking about, I don't have time, it's just 12 minutes. It's a kirtan kriya. So what a lot of caregivers find is when they start to get down, into that quiet space for a mindfulness meditation, it monkey brain, right? It's like, oh, I have to do this and I have to remember. And they say, I can't do it. And they walk away. This is a chant with a melody, and there's a finger tap that goes with it. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's Satanama, Satanama, right? And this goes on, and then it's done out loud, in a whisper, silently, and then silently in a whisper and out loud again. So 2 minutes at each, it brings you to 12 minutes. And what she found is this actually is a protective stress protection. It protects from the negative impacts of stress at our cellular level. And when I have taught this to our guests, and they come back and they tell me, this is amazing. This is amazing. I feel so much calmer. I feel so much better. The power of meditation.
Look, I found, so if you go to 12min, like minute.com, it actually comes up with Alyssa Appel's information here too. So we'll have to, we should probably connect with her. Have you met her yet?
I have not. We've corresponded. We corresponded way back at the beginning of my Creating Nancy's House.
Yeah. I just think, I think anybody we can connect with anybody. I don't believe in the old days, like I believe if we can bring value to each other, we're supposed to be connected. And I think this is one of those situations. I'll tell you, I studied transcendental meditation, and I'm always searching for these types of things. And, I think whatever works for somebody, go do that thing. It's not look, I think if when you said about breathing, deep breathing, people say that doesn't work. People say, I can't meditate. But listen, I'm Tommy D. I'm a wild man. I can figure out how to do this.
Right.
I think I don't care how. Now I got the ADHD. I got the whole thing, man. I got it all. But you can sit with yourself and you can go internally. It's so critically important. And guess what, gang? It ain't just like for us hippies. It's actually because it's going to make you more healthy. And that's what we're talking about. Before we go to a quick break, the name of the organization. Tell us that.
So I told you the story about Nancy Brown.
Yep.
And my father-in-law lived another 4.5 years after she left the practice. But when he died, you know, as I said, I was ahead of the curve. I did this research and that conversation came back and those two things came together. And when I thought about creating the time and space for caregivers, I had to thank her for planting that seed. And so the name is a thank you to Nancy Brown.
Nancy Brown, if you're out there, thank you. The organization is a thank you. It's a sign of gratitude. It's appreciation. We talk about it. You said a couple times, that's a whole nother conversation. Gratitude is a whole nother conversation, gang. Wake up and say thank you. When you go to sleep, say thank you. That will change things for you. Just that. Do it for, I don't know, every day, and carve out 12 minutes a day to do this meditation. We'll continue to bring things. You know what, Alyssa, what's great is, like, as somebody who's found out in the last handful of years, I'm pretty creative. I just want to do more shows about these types of topics. Philanthropy and Focus is this. It's about the nonprofit, but look, we're not necessarily just talking about what a 501c3 is all about, or
Right.
fundraising here. We're talking about impacting and changing the world and changing other people. So I'm thankful and grateful that you're on the show with me this morning. So I appreciate
Thank you for giving me the space to do this. I
I'm
really
glad to.
appreciate it.
It is my mission to do that, to give the space for these types of topics. So when we come back, I really want to focus in on the upcoming event, how we can support the organization, and if there's connections, whether they be local to where you are or national or international for that matter, who they are and what we're going to talk about. So we'll be right back. This is Philanthropy and Focus. No big deal, gang. Just changing the world. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on TalkRadio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Calling all pet lovers.
Pet Avengers, assemble!
On the Professionals and Animal Lovers show, we believe the bond between animal lovers is incredibly strong. It mirrors that bond between pets and their owners. Through this program, we come together to learn, educate, and advocate.
Join us live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Philanthropy in Focus. By now, if you're paying attention, you know it's spelled with a PH. Philanthropy is, as well as Focus is spelled with a PH. So, Alyssa, while I have this shared on Facebook, maybe we could just jump right into the conference. The website is nancy's-house.org, nancy's-house.org, and you'll see the upcoming annual National Caregiving Conference, which is coming up next week. So can we speak to that for a little bit?
Oh, I am so excited about this conference. There are so many good things happening. So this is our 5th conference. It's our 3rd conference that's online. And on one of the silver linings of COVID is we have learned by having things online, we can reach many, many more people. So anybody who is hearing this program can take part of this. It is, well, you can see we have Yuki Washington. His picture is up on the screen here. If you're in the greater Philadelphia region, you know Yuki. He is well beloved. He is a news anchor for Eyewitness 3 Channel 3 Eyewitness News, excuse me. And he is just wonderful. And he's a caregiver. Caregiving hits everybody.
Of course he
Right.
is. 'Cause you know why? Because he's a person.
Exactly so.
how it
Exactly so. And then we have 6 really fabulous workshops. People will be able to attend 2. Registration is only $10, right? So for $10, you get to pick 2 of these amazing, wonderful workshops. We've got Kathy Sikorsky, who is an elder law attorney. She's also a Nancy's House board member. She is also a humorist. She speaks nationally on caregiving, and she has written several books. Funny, we were talking at the beginning about humor, right? Yeah. Funny, but so important, so informative. And her focus this year is legal pickles, what every caregiver needs to know, because there are so many times we can unwittingly get caught in financial and legal pitfalls.
No kidding. Yeah.
We have Maurice Baynard, who is also a board member. Maurice does it is not his day job, but it is his training. He does a lot of work and study in sleep and what happens, why we need sleep, what happens when we sleep, what happens when we don't sleep. And so his program this year, again, very interesting, very informative. His rooms are always packed, and his workshop this year is Unlocking the Secret of Naps.
I love that name. What a cute name. How fun is that? You know,
yeah. And the third one, I'm not going in order here, but if you look on the screen directly under Maurice, we've got Kay Coughlin, and I put her in with the other 2 because in my mind, we break it out as 3 informational workshops and 3 experiential. And Kay's is also one of the ones that I would call informational. Hers is Boundaries in Caregiving. Kay has a podcast that's Caregiver to Caregiver. Her website is Facilitator on Fire. She does every couple of months, she does one of our monthly workshops. And she is just really wonderful in talking about we as caregivers need to be us first. And it's okay to say no. And you don't have to give yourself up piece by piece to other people. That you are entitled to be in and of yourself a whole and healthy person. And she is wonderful. And then in the experiential workshops, we have that Healing Movements of Qigong by Michael McCormick. Michael did this did Healing Sounds last year, and this year he's doing Healing Movements. Wow. And it's wonderful. And it just talk about, the immediate impact of meditation. It feels so good. And Qigong is very easy to follow along. It's very simple. You can do this. The 2 new ones this year are Writing and Journaling in Caregiving with Humor. This is the one I mentioned earlier about being able to find. It can be dark humor. It can be gallows humor. It can be just plain up, straight up funny humor. I can tell you some slapstick stories about when my father-in-law was with us, but being able to spot those and hold on to that humor so that we don't get weighed down by the other stuff. So I'm really excited about that one. And the processing through poetry, being able to take these complex feelings and coalesce it, crystallize it into this beautiful form of poetry. I mean, just to be able to express yourself in this way, poetry is like magic in being able to take this huge amorphous thing and just bring it down to this few words of beauty, I'm
feeling like, you need to know my friend Dave Lynn. He calls himself the gratitude dude. And I'm just because of the writing you're talking about, we did a conference. I'll hook you up with Dave. But shout out, please. We haven't spoken in a little while. I'm sending you good vibes. I don't know that you're listening, but I'm sending them to you. So him and his brother had put together it was sort of like the unconference a bunch of years ago. It was called Congruence. And it was there for CON was concert, GR was gratitude, energy, and self, I believe, was the SE at the end, congruence. And it was really special. And like most things, the pandemic sort of put that on hold. But, one of the things we wrote, like thank you cards to people in the session and mailed those cards. And the things that happen out of that are incredibly special. We're going to run out of time, and I don't want that to happen before you get anything else out there with what you need as far as relationships and connections. So what else can we, aside from getting the word out? I think you and I should shoot a video about the conference. If you're up for it, just do a video like another day next week. Try to push the attendance and whatnot.
Sure, that's a really big piece, is we really want more and more and more people to sign up at nancyshouse.org, nancys-house.org. It's going to pop up when you go there. It's only $10. It's Saturday, November 5th from 9 to 12:30 Eastern time.
If you want to go to this event and you can't swing the $10, tell Alyssa and I'll take care of it. Like, because that's, you know what I mean?
Thank you. And we do have scholarships available if that's a hardship. Absolutely.
Yeah. Connections. We really need donors, because caregivers are financially stressed in addition to emotionally and physically. I mean, we come back to that graphic, right? And it says that where is it? 20 something percent are using their own money, have had 45% have had at least one financial impact. Yep.
That if we really need donors, and we need sponsors for the conference, we have a lot of sponsorship available, but just ongoing donors would be fabulous. And of course, we're looking for board members. If this is a mission that speaks to you, we are looking for board members it's a working board, but we're looking for board members who are willing to put in the time and effort to make this mission fly.
I think you need to talk to my friend Nicole Christensen. She's written a book on caregiving. She is like a patient advocate, very involved in that caregiving space. Got to get you hooked up with Dave Lynn. And also, you've met my friend Vicki Elner, and I would hope that you and Vicki are going to try to do some stuff together too. This has been another episode of Philanthropy and Focus. Alyssa, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the work you're doing for our caregivers. I've learned so much today, and I'm going to be honest, I'm taking this knowledge to people in my family who are caregivers and need to be a bit selfish, as we've talked about. Self-care.
Tommy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is just the deal. This is it. Like I say, my friend Dara sent me this cup because this is something I've been known to say, no big deal. Just change the little Philanthropy Focus guy. No big deal. Just changing the world. All right. We're going to leave it there. I will just announce really quick, next week on the show, Allison Lafrelita, my other buddy from the Nonprofit Resource Hub, will be here. Nonprofit Resource Hub is something we created. I created it with some partners, my business partner, and some of our other partners, subject matter experts, thought leaders in the nonprofit sector. Allison is our executive director. Will be here to talk about the upcoming conference, November 15th in New York City, and what the Nonprofit Hub really does. It's a trade organization where we bring together the best of breed for the nonprofit sector. Alyssa, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody make it a great weekend. I'll see you later on. Bye.